Hello everybody, welcome back to my movie review series. Today we'll be discussing Last House, a 2026 release on Netflix. So if you've not seen one of my movie reviews, what I will do is read a basic overview as provided by Google. I'll give you my general impressions, anything that stuck out about the cinematography, the overall major themes, specifically to the character development, just what is the theme of this movie, how do the characters develop throughout the movie. And then I will rank the movie on an A to F American school system grading scale, A being well done, B being entertaining, C being whatever, D being off-putting, and F being I turned off the movie or walked out of the theater. In this case, I watched this at my house. And so after the letter grade is given, if you've not seen the movie and would want to watch the movie for any reason based on what we've said or haven't said, you're going to want to shut off the video because there will be spoiler alerts. And so we move along. The Last House is a 2026 sci-fi survival thriller film directed by Louis Leterrier and written by Matthew Robinson. Starring Greta Lee and Wagner Moura, the movie follows a family of four mysteriously sealed inside their home during a global catastrophe, forcing them to endure years of confinement and dwindling resources. And so it was released on August 7th in 2026. On Netflix, so had to have been literally yesterday, or again, this previous weekend. And so, again, director Louis Leterrier, I've never heard of him before. Biggest actor, or previous presence actor, actress, is definitely the Wagner Moura, the main Pablo Escobar character from the Narcos series. So that was the only actor or actress that I recognized. Overall, it has a 27% on Rotten Tomatoes, a 5.5 out of 10 on IMDb. And that's about all of the overview we get. Rated PG-13, it is the horror/sci-fi genre. I would put it more in sci-fi than horror, but it has a runtime of 1 hour and 50 minutes. So again, like this apocalypse, this, hey, people are going about their normal day-to-day lives and then some big thing changes, are always, again, a plot line that I enjoy. I like to see where the directors and where the writers go with just this post-apocalyptic and then kind of seeing day-to-day society kind of deteriorate or degenerate. Hey, we've been doing this, kind of going about our mundane lives. Some big natural disaster happens, some sort of alien apocalypse happens, but something disrupts normal functionality of life. I just personally like the writing scripts. To this movie specifically, what really stuck out, the overall writing to acting relationship, again, can you out-act bad writing? I don't think so. Can you under-act good writing? I do think so. This one was more, hey, the overall acting was not very good and the overall writing was not very good. It just felt very cliche. And so the overall theme was okay. The overall pace, which is another word I use a lot for movies, just, hey, I'm sitting down for 1 hour and a half, in this case, hour and 50 minutes. If you can keep me entertained, again, all of the movies start out in like the B type of area. If you can keep me entertained for any reason throughout the duration of about 2 hours, you're right in that B range. If you do something well, cinematography, or do something well in terms of writing, novelty, you get bumped up to the A range. Like I said, the noticeable thing from this movie was the acting was underwhelming, the writing didn't seem super strong. The overall plot and theme, again, just the genre was decent, something that I'm privy to or something that I'm keen on, that I like. But overall, just kind of was underwhelming. It was not convincing acting, nothing super novel throughout the plot line. The one positive that I thought was noticeable, I don't know if it was intentional, but there was some like levity to it. In this apocalypse, right, the rain, we'll get into the plot development here in a second after we give the grade. But you're kind of, when they go from the 3-month time frame to the 5-year time frame of time elapsed, there was some sort of like levity in terms of the visual effects as well as the soundtrack. Kind of felt more like playful than it did like super serious. It certainly did not feel like a horror movie at any point. But just overall, pretty mundane and not convincing acting. Decent theme. And so I'm going to go ahead and give this as a flat C. Didn't really do anything for me. Didn't think it was off-putting, but definitely not going to, it was one step lower than entertaining. And so with that being said, if you've not seen the movie, we will be going through the plot now. So the movie opens up, you get some light narration from, I think it becomes, like, it's a family of four, adult, male, female, and then 2 young kids at the beginning. And I think the narration is from the younger kid. but they're in some sort of warm modern day climate around Christmas time. It's raining, they're putting up their Christmas stuff, and they're at their house just saying, hey, let's, go get a Christmas tree. And so immediately the plot begins to develop. This rain comes. You get this like a 30 seconds of narration where it's already talking about the rain being something this big event. And so the rain comes and the family's back at their house, and then the next day shows up, and the father, this Wagner Moura, Jason, he goes to leave the house, and they literally can't get out of the house. So that's the immediate development, is this rain is kind of acting like this sealant, and they immediately can't get out of the house. They immediately start freaking out. And again, from the cinematography, just the writing, the characters immediately go into like panic mode, which didn't seem very realistic. Again, I'm not a stickler for realism. It felt forced. Again, it didn't feel like a very consistent connection between the actors and the writing script, and I don't think the writing script was very strong. But they're freaking out way too fast, or just in a way where it's not super convincing to the viewer. Trying to break windows, trying to smash open the door, and they're unable to get out of the house. So very quickly, they are locked inside their house. They have like little blackboards or little whiteboards, and they're communicating briefly with the neighbors. Hey, some commentary like, we don't really know our neighbors, but now that we have some time off, we're going to get to know each other through this, communication, just writing on whiteboards. So they pass some messages back and forth. There's an older black couple. There's a couple on a one-night stand. There's some kids. Just, a kind of a diverse community is kind of what the director or the writing's portraying. And so they get locked in. They're trying to figure out what's going on. And they're just, that kind of happens. And then you start getting this counter on the screen. 1 day since the rain. It doesn't say the rain, but it says day 1, day 3, day 5, so on and so forth. So they immediately start rationing. Hey, we don't know how long this is going to last. The overall quote-unquote apocalypse, or again, big disruption to the day-to-day life, is just they're sealed in their house. So the overall setting is they're pretty comfortable or safe within their house. They still have power. They still have water. The utilities are still running. They literally just physically cannot leave. There's no type of like creature or alien yet, and as the viewer, you're not really sure where this is going to go. And so they start trying to break out. They go up to the different attics. They try the different rooms, and the young girl immediately notices, like when she puts her hands on the window, like the water kind of like goes around her hand, or in a way where the viewer's like, hey, there's something about the rain itself. And so you immediately get like the overall plot, what's going on. And then you kind of get these day-to-day progressions, 1 day, 5 days, 7 days. After about 7 days or about a month, you see, some sort of disruptions or minor scenes with the neighbors. The older black couple doesn't have food. The one-night stand people are starting to fight. And so kind of this deterioration from, hey, we're stuck in our houses. This is upsetting to our day-to-day life, but this is not panic yet, to now we're kind of getting into panic mode. And so there's a couple small scenes. The dad, the Wagner Moura, he kind of teaches his kids how to skin and clean a fish with some stuffed animals, just giving some like life lessons. You get some background that he used to be a fisherman before he had kids and had to provide for them. And so Greta Lee is the actress that plays Anne, the female lead character, the mom. And so there's some minor scenes. They burn their bills, like, hey, we're behind on our house. There's this recurring and overall dominant theme throughout the movie that the house is deteriorating. And so that plays a big role going into the rest of the movie. And so they skin the fish. They kind of realize they're going to be longer than they plan, or they don't have any expectation of how long they're going to be there. And so after about, I think it's the 3-month time frame, then from 3 months, they're starting to get really, really hungry. And so they've rationed their food, but they're out of their food. And so they build this trap. And kind of like the big development from the initial 30 minutes of the movie into the rest of the movie is what they call, I think, chimney fishing or basket fishing. Basically, because of the structural deterioration of the house, the chimney has like broken off. And at this point, had made no contact outside the house at all. But now they're not really sure why. Additionally, it becomes a major thing. But in addition to like the water going around the young girl's hand, she kind of like thinks she sees like figures in form outside in the rain. And so it's always big when the rain happens. like they put up these different blinders and stuff. Well, they do so later. At this point, they're not really sure what's going on still. But regardless, they have some sort of initiation or interaction where the little girl's like, hey, I've seen other things outside, and then the rest of the family hasn't seen things outside. They run out of food, and then they start chimney fishing. It's very like Home Alone type of references, very kind of Inspector Gadget, where it's like, this is kind of what I'm talking about, like the levity from the 3-month time frame to the 5-year elapsed time. Like the director doesn't spend a lot of time like, does this contraption work, or doesn't like try to make it very like serious. It's just, we have these gizmos, these doohickeys, and now they work, which I kind of liked. Like I thought it provided some levity. I don't know if it was intentional or not, but that was kind of like the, not being a super toned, serious toned movie, I thought did some benefit to the overall progression. Regardless, they struggle at the beginning to catch any sort of food, and they're all kind of like at their last. They're starving. They also had to kill the family dog. The dad has it looks like a Glock, but just a handgun. And so the dog gets sick. They puts him down humanely. Again, another kind of like weak writing point. Like, hey, the dog gets old and dies, and we put him down, and the mom and dad kind of like put him in the freezer. Push comes to shove, we're gonna eat the dog. It's a not super convincing kind of like moral commentary, or just, shit hits the fan, what are we going to do now? Just kind of like weak, small, minor scenes. But regardless, they're starving, they get this trap, they struggle with this trap to begin with, and then they're literally like throwing, the young daughter goes up through the chimney, and they're putting this like small game trap through their chimney and then reeling it back in. But regardless, they're able to do that successfully, and now you have a 5-year elapsed time, and most of the neighbors have either died off or gone away. You do have some other scenes where like there's a chick running outside in the rain, and she's definitely not like a monster or a creature. And that's kind of when they start putting up these different blinds. Hey, when it's raining, something's out there. You kind of get, even as the viewer, if you've seen the movie The Mist, you kind of get some kind of inklings of that movie. There seems to be a lot of scenes kind of just haphazardly inspired by other things. There's another big one we'll get to here in a second. But regardless, they go on for 5 years, and now they're all kind of like, hey, the kids have missed their childhood. We can't stay here forever, even though we're surviving. The big kind of moral development or continuation is the dad still like, hey, after 5 years, my goal is just to keep you guys alive. And so the younger kids wanting to get out and try to live some life, the mom being kind of understanding and accepting, hey, we can't stay our entire lives in this house. And so regardless, they're kind of bickering. The dad kind of assembles this muscle car, and the son is kind of like, hey, Dad, when you're done showing us your stupid car, let's get back to... The writer's just showing some sort of disruption to this 5-year time frame that they've been living life. And so the trap gets automated so they can just catch the food automatically. And the younger girl, who's now, again, I don't know, 16, I'll say, there's like a ferret or just a small animal, and it bites her. So she gets infected, and so the mom has this motivation, hey, I need to go find antibiotics. One of our old neighbors who's passed away, I think it's the older black couple, all of our houses are connected through this like sewer system. During this 5-year period, the house had shifted, and so now, which is another kind of like weak continuity point for the writing, we haven't had any way to get out of this house, but now we just kind of remember there's these sewers underneath or something, or the house has shifted enough. Wasn't super convincing, but regardless, that's what happens. And so the mom is like, hey, I'm smaller than the dad, to the dad, is like, I'm smaller than you, I'll go through these pipes and get our daughter and save our daughter by getting these antibiotics. And so she gets the antibiotics, she goes through the sewer system to another house, she has the gun on her. When she's in the other house, that's when you truly get introduced. There are creatures out in this rain. Again, kind of like The Mist at the beginning, again, it's just like a fleeting thought as the viewer. But regardless, there are creatures, and it's kind of just like the overall monster alien is this like water-based, kind of like octopus-faced bipedal entity. And so she kind of freaks out at that. She's able to get the antibiotics. She rushes back through this pipe system. They have a little comm system, a little visual audio. It kind of cuts in and out when she's going between the houses. and the creature kind of follows her into the pipes, and she freaks out and mag dumps the monster, obviously. And so the monster's not super happy about that, but again, PG-13, no gore or anything like horror at all in the movie. But when she's hiding in that initial in that initial scene, the monster comes in. I could not stop thinking about War of the Worlds with Tom Cruise. It's just that when the monsters come in and they're like hiding behind kind of this like broken down house in the basement of War of the Worlds or of The Last House, it just felt like, again, as the viewer, there's no way the director's not thinking this scene from this movie. But that's what strikes me, certainly. Regardless, she makes it back to the house. They're able to like collapse the chimney or collapse the house in a way where it seals off, where the mom was able to rescue or get the antibiotics and come back up into their house. And so regardless, that happens. They kind of nurse the daughter, quickly recovers. But basically they decide they're going to fight, or they're going to try to leave the house because they've seen this creature, this monster, open the door. And so this whole time they haven't been able to get outside of the door, like physically being blocked or being sealed by the water. And so now as the viewer, you're like, hey, you're kind of certain, again, these creatures, like when it rains, like they're purposely sealing kind of the humans inside the house. So that's like, again, a big plot kind of development. Regardless, they say, hey, we're done sitting in this house. We're going to try to break out the next time the rain comes. And so they stop putting up their like window shields and kind of like inviting this creature or this entity back into their house. And so that happens. He comes back up through like the floor or something. They use their trap that they've been using to catch food to trap this entity, this creature, in addition with this Mora, or what's his name? Wagner Moura, that car that he built and his son was not super impressed with. They use that as like a weight to kind of like capture the monster. Again, getting flashbacks of like I Am Legend when Will Smith uses the car to like trap the zombie in that movie. So a lot of movies where it's like I see scenes and it just feels like a big amalgamation of other movies. Regardless, that's what happens. They trap the monster, and Wagner Moura's character gets up right next to it with like a knife, and he's like debating should he try to like kill it or not. And then there's like, hey, the daughter's like, I thought they were nice, or like I got this inclination that they were not being aggressive towards us. And so then Wagner Moura makes the big moral decision of the movie to cut the rope and let the monster free, or the not human free. And so that's what he does. And then because they've showed them some sympathy or whatever, the monster, the creature, opens the door and they're able to leave their house. And so this comes to the conclusion of the movie. They run outside. I didn't say it, but from the 3-month time frame to the 5-year elapsed time frame, again, not a stickler for realism, but there was no way that amount of growth, like it's a standard neighborhood, and then everything's covered in grass, or everything's like grown through and trees are everywhere. It's like there's no way there was that much like deterioration to a neighborhood in 5 years. So that definitely struck me as a viewer. Again, not even as someone looking for realism, but it's just like 5 years. Again, even adding to like the levity where it's like the director's just showing you substantial change, right? It doesn't have to be super realistic, but certainly there was way more growth. Again, once they leave the house, it's like, it's like the city has been abandoned for like 200 years. But regardless, there's some, again, finalizing, concluding narration where it's like, again, I believe it's the daughter, and she's like, they've always been living here, and because we showed them mercy, they showed us mercy, we're cohabitating. That's kind of like the big thing, aliens in the water, that's always been here. It's like, that's a major theme that's true, but major aliens in the water that come out and then like can control the rain or something. Again, so it wasn't a very like, what's the big point of this movie? I didn't really see much. Didn't feel very inspired. The overall writing script to the acting was just a C. And so again, aliens in the water, true, but cohabitation, again, is this movie even inspired or making a comment on something like that? I don't think so. Regardless, didn't really do much for me. It was a step down from entertaining. Just really disconnected of the overall conviction of the writing. A lot of the lines felt very trite, very cliche, very, I don't want to say forced, but just not inspired, not novel, and not super entertaining. So overall, for The Last House, a C. the biggest thing of positivity being kind of the levity, just the lighting, the soundtrack, and then the overall pace of the movie in the genre that it was. And additionally, I like seeing the Wagner Moura outside. Huge character, main guy in Narcos. Haven't seen him in anything else that really sticks out. And so that was kind of like, oh, let's see what Pablo Escobar is up to today. But that is what I have for The Last House. Overall, C. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.